This episode of Healthy Home Hacks is sponsored by the Building Biology Institute. To learn more about creating indoor environments that support health and wellness, visit their free resources at buildingbiologyinstitute.org.
How would you like to improve your health and keep your family safe? You're listening to the Healthy Home Hacks podcast, where we firmly believe enjoying optimal health shouldn't be a luxury. Healthy Home Authorities and husband and wife team Ron and Lisa will help you create a home environment that will level up your health. It's time to hear from the experts. Listen in on honest conversations and gain the best tips and advice. If you're ready to dive in and improve your well-being and increase your energy, you're in the right place. All right, here are your hosts, biobiologists, authors, media darlings, vicarious vegans, and avocado aficionados, Ron and Lisa Barris.
Has this ever happened to you? You're on your hands and knees, scrubbing, sudsing, and scouring your home to guest-ready perfection when an enormous truck-sized drop of sweat falls off your brow, landing conveniently on your freshly pressed shirt. And you notice the clock is still ticking. Even though your home is rarely this level of clean, a special superpower takes over when company comes to visit. In this case, it's Aunt Edna from Toledo, Ohio. And like Ray Romano's TV mom, Marie Barone, she's sure to make a snide comment, or two, or three, should a dust bunny or bathroom mildew be spotted. In heated fury, you glance at the clock. It's 1:30 p.m. and Aunt Edna's wheels touch down at 2. Just one last swipe of the vacuum and you are good to go. Or are you? Suddenly your throat feels scratchy. Your eyes begin to water. You're feeling congested. And here it comes, a pounding headache. The good news is the house is clean. The bad news is you feel like crap. Are the toxins, chemicals, and allergens found in the conventional cleaning products you use making you sick? Or are you allergic to Aunt Edna? I'm betting on the former. Hold on to your scrubby brushes because today we're diving into cleaning products and healthy homemade alternatives with our very special guest, investigative chemist and mother, Alexis Rochester of Chemistry Cachet.
Yes, and to shed more light on this toxic subject is Alexis Rochester, and she is an investigative chemist bringing us the best, most accurate, and proven science-based tips for cleaning, skincare, gardening, and health. And she's the owner and founder of Chemistry Cachet, where they love sharing things to make our life easier. Alexis, welcome from Texas.
Hi.
Hi.
It's good to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Ron, me, and Aunt Edna, and we are so excited to just dive right in and talk about most people's least favorite household chore, and that is cleaning products, something that we have to do whether we like it or not. So just to get started, I know right now something that's on the top of everybody's mind is cleaning versus disinfecting. Like, is there a difference? Years ago, we actually owned a retail store where Ron and I sold thousands of products, and one of those was a non-toxic cleaning product. And we had got approached by one of those major online shopping TV shows. I won't say their name. And they wanted to sell our non-toxic cleaner. But the big issue was, can you disinfect a surface with the cleaner without having to also put water on it and clean it before, say, you were to put food on it? And I guess that's a big issue that happens when we're talking about disinfecting and cleaning. So I'd love for you to shed some light on, can you clean and disinfect at the same time? What do you recommend? And what's the best thing to do?
So there is a huge difference between cleaning and disinfecting. And most products that you buy, they might say that they disinfect, but it's actually going to be a 2-step process. Cleaning is going to be when you remove all the debris and the dirt or whatever you see on a counter or the floor. But disinfecting, you can't see. So you don't know if you're removing the germs. It's something that goes on behind the scenes. You can use the same product to clean and disinfect, but only if the product that you bought says that it disinfects. It has to say 99.9% of the germs it removes. So I bought a product the other day just because on the back of it, it now says that you have to clean first and then you disinfect. So you really have to make sure you're using a product that says on there that it disinfects. And then you have to do a 2-step process to actually get that disinfecting going on.
Right. So it is 2 steps. I think this rings true for hand sanitizing. Obviously, the CDC and these authoritative sources say, hey, hand washing is actually better than hand sanitizing because you're actually getting the dirt and the germs and bacteria off. Whereas if you just use a hand sanitizer, you're not actually cleaning your hands. So ideally, you always want to be that's why the hand washing for 20 seconds is better. A lot of people don't realize that. They think the hand sanitizer is the end all be all, when in fact, it's more effective, right? Because you're hitting it from both sides with the germs and bacteria.
Yes. So when you use hand sanitizer, typically your hands are going to be dirty. And when you spray it on there or wipe it on there, it's not going to necessarily get all the germs off. That's why hand washing is so much better, because you are using the soap and the water. You're getting it all off your hands, and it's going to be a lot more effective at getting rid of the germs. Hand sanitizer is good to use if you don't have anything else.
It's a false sense of security in some ways, I think.
Yes, it is.
Right. And not to mention, since hand sanitizers are such a hot topic right now with coronavirus and all of the things that we're going through worldwide, that there are a lot of toxic chemicals that can be hiding in the hand sanitizers, like synthetic fragrances and thickeners and these kinds of things, preservatives, where you're not going to have that with your natural soap and hot water that you're hopefully washing for a good 20 seconds, right? Would you say
right?
The 20-second rule is definitely important?
At least 20 seconds is really the best way to get your hands clean and to disinfect.
Well, Alexis, this kind of goes hand in hand, quote on, with a little pun here. How do you properly disinfect the surface? So everyone's worried about bacteria, the grime, viruses like, COVID-19. Is this the same process? What do you do to actually clean a surface?
That goes back to the 2-step process that we were talking about. So to disinfect a surface, the first thing you want to do is clean it. And you can use, whatever you have on hand. You can even use soap and water, but you want to make sure that whatever surface you're disinfecting is clean. So you don't want to have any type of food or dirt or crumbs. And then the next thing you want to do is use your disinfectant. Now, it could be the same cleaning product that you have if it has that disinfecting label on it, but you want to really saturate the area and then let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. And after that 5 to 10 minutes, you can go back and wipe it off. And that is the best way to disinfect.
Do a lot of the store-bought disinfectants tell you to leave it on for 20 seconds? Because I haven't heard that. That's a new interesting tidbit.
They usually don't, but I bought a product the other day because I was reading the back of the label, and it says on there to disinfect, pre-clean the surface, apply to the surface until it's thoroughly wet, and then leave on for 10 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
And this is a popular...
I don't think people are reading that.
I've never seen that on a label before. So I think over the last several months, they have added that on there because people just don't know to do that.
And now, is there certifications that we should be looking for that show that, yes, this is proven to disinfect if we're buying a store-bought disinfectant?
First of all, on the front, they'll have a label that says kills 99.9%. And if it says that, then it's a disinfectant. And also on the back, they will specify what it's been proven to kill. So all the types of virus strands, bacteria, it'll be listed on the back.
And I know Lysol. I know actually on the back of the Lysol can, which we do not condone. We're healthy living experts. We don't want you spraying with Lysol.
Right.
But Lysol actually lists coronavirus because SARS was a coronavirus too. Some people don't realize coronaviruses are a family of viruses, including COVID-19. We want something that works. We don't want something that's caustic. Ron's story at the beginning, getting sick and not breathing and having sinus congestion and watery eyes. Aunt Edna's on her way. And now we're sick, but our house is clean. So what are some things in our home that we can use right now that can disinfect? Something that's safe and that isn't going to cause toxicity to us and our family.
Right. So there's really 2 things that you have at home that you can use to disinfect. And these are very proven. So you know that they're going to, keep you safe, but also not harm your health in the process. One of those is just going to be rubbing alcohol. And that's something that you buy in the first aid section. The best percentage is going to be 70% rubbing alcohol. And you just, like I was saying before, you spray a surface down to disinfect it, let it sit, and then you wipe it off. Another thing is hydrogen peroxide. The 3% that you buy in the first aid section, you can use that to disinfect surfaces at home. And that's safe for, any surface. You can also buy food grade hydrogen peroxide, which you can use for your cutting boards or, anything that you're going to be eating off of. You can also clean your fruits and vegetables with that.
That's a good tip. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's very safe because it's food grade. So it doesn't have any stabilizers in it. The 3% that you buy at the first aid section, that's going to be, safe for all other surfaces. The only thing you have to watch out for with that is it does degrade pretty quickly. That's why it's in one of those dark bottles.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason for the ugly brown bottle.
You cracked the code.
Yes,
Nice.
it breaks down very quickly. So whenever you buy it, you want to make sure you buy kind of a smaller container because it does, every time you open the bottle, the air is going to get inside. It's going to break down. So that's the only thing you have to watch out for.
Is that even better than distilled vinegar, for example, on vegetables?
It is because vinegar doesn't disinfect. It's going to kill a lot of the bacteria, but it's not a registered disinfectant. So if you want to be extra safe, you do need to get something like hydrogen peroxide, especially for your foods when you bring them home from the store.
Does it affect the taste of your food too? I would imagine it probably tastes like hydrogen peroxide.
I don't know what that tastes
like. Yeah, it
like.
doesn't really have a taste, but it is good to rinse it. After you clean your vegetables with the hydrogen peroxide, just rinse it with water and it gets rid of any residue.
Would you dilute that, Alexis? Because I would think you'd go through a lot of hydrogen peroxide. I guess you could put it in a spray bottle.
Yeah, you can put it in a spray bottle and it does. The stuff that I buy from Amazon, it's just a food grade. It has on the back how you dilute it. It depends on which brand it is, but you do dilute it with some water and you can just soak your fruits and vegetables just in a mixture in your sink and it will disinfect it.
Of like water and hydrogen peroxide.
Yes.
And then it sounds like hydrogen peroxide might overall be the better bet than, obviously they're both very inexpensive. When you talk about finding these, at the drugstore, I know we've seen them and bought them. We have them both. We're talking dollars for each, right?
They're very affordable. I would say hydrogen peroxide is probably more all purpose because you can clean your foods with it, your cutting board. Rubbing alcohol, you wouldn't want to use on something that you're going to eat.
Right.
But I think rubbing alcohol is better for, just your basic surfaces.
Now, okay, as a chemist, could you add essential oils to the rubbing alcohol to cut that odor?
Yes, you definitely can.
Is there any reason that you wouldn't do that?
No, you can add essential oil to it. I add lemon to mine. And anything like that is fine. You don't want to dilute it too much because you do want it to say 70%. But a few drops of essential oil will not affect the percentage of alcohol.
Okay. And that brings me to tequila and vodka and alcohol, which, basically, everybody was talking about this when COVID first erupted and people were running out and buying alcohol that wasn't high enough proof,
right?
Falsely thinking that was disinfecting. Now, if you get a high enough proof alcohol, 70% or higher, that's fine, correct? You're going to have an expensive disinfectant.
Right. You can definitely use that. It needs to be at least 120 proof to be able to clean with it.
Okay.
Which that equals 60% alcohol. So that's okay. The CDC has even mentioned that you can use that if there's nothing else, if there's no rubbing alcohol. But it is expensive, like you said. So I think that would only be the last resort.
One thing I was curious to ask you was, how do you properly use, let's say, homemade cleaners? So I know, for example, if you mix chlorine and ammonia, that is not a good thing. That's creating a gas, right?
Chloramine gas, right?
Yes.
A deadly toxic gas.
So when you make homemade cleaners, you have to be really careful to mix things that are safe to use. So water is a good mixer, dish soap, rubbing alcohol. Those are all safe to mix together as a homemade cleaner. And homemade cleaners, you have to remember, are going to clean. They're not going to disinfect. So like we were saying before, you want to always make sure you're still doing that two-step process. You can make a homemade cleaner, clean your surface, and then follow up with a disinfectant. So homemade cleaners are usually made to be safe for all surfaces. They're not going to be real harsh. They're not going to be real strong. One of our cleaners that we use, it mixes rubbing alcohol, dish soap, and water. And it makes a really great all-purpose cleaner, but it is a diluted rubbing alcohol, so it's not going to disinfect. So you want to make sure when you make your own cleaners, you're also doing the two-step process and you follow up with a disinfectant, which can be just the pure rubbing alcohol.
You said they sell 2 steps in one bottle. I don't know if you use them, but you said you've seen them. So a disinfectant and a cleaner. Do you have an example? Is there a name brand that we would recognize or?
I mean, this one that you were talking about, the Lysol brand, this is the one that we have here, but this is something different I've never seen. It says with hydrogen peroxide. So they're using hydrogen peroxide as their cleaner. It's not the aerosol spray.
Okay, gotcha.
So this is some new product. I haven't done any digging on the other ingredients, but it's mainly hydrogen peroxide. This is just an example. There's many of them at the store, but even if they do say that they disinfect, you still should be doing the two-step process, because it's the sitting on the surface for however long, 5 to 10 minutes, that's going to disinfect the germs. So you want to still make sure you're cleaning your surface, and then you want to make sure you disinfect. So even a store-bought, disinfectant, you still want to make sure you do the two-step process just to be safe and make sure you get all the germs.
Ron would be late to the airport getting Aunt Edna doing his extra stuff.
There's no time.
You've just added more cleaning to our lives, which thanks a lot, Alexis.
Well, before this pandemic, people never thought about this stuff, but it's funny that all of a sudden people were really interested in, people didn't know that there was so much to actually cleaning something that's very scientific, and you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. So it does take longer, but it is the safest way to do it.
Now, do you have to do that realistically, people aren't probably going to do that every day. So what do you think? Once a week, or just when you feel like you've got exposure to something?
I would say it's only going to be when you have touched something that like for instance, when you come in from the store and you've been around all these people and you've been touching things, you want to disinfect your doorknob when you come home, because you've touched the doorknob, you've come inside. So any surface that you are going to be touching a lot, or anything like if you have had bags outside, like you've been at the doctor's office and your purse was at the doctor's office, if you come home and put your purse on the counter, you want to disinfect your counters. So I would say it's going to be just with the situation. I don't do it very often because I don't really go a lot of places, but anytime I go out to the store, to the doctor's office, I always make sure to disinfect anything that I've touched when I came home.
Mm-hmm. And I know you have a little one at home. How old is your daughter?
Yes, she is 2.
She's 2. So you're being extra cautious. I know you're also recovering from a knee surgery, right? So
yes, I'm being extra cautious for her and for me too, because I have arthritis. So my immune system's not the strongest. And I just want to make sure I'm doing whatever steps I need to do to make sure, we both stay safe.
Well, you're doing excellent, because I don't know too many people who disinfect the actual doorknob. People clean the house entirely and don't even touch that usually. So
doorknobs are,
I do.
Doorknobs are dirty. Doorknobs are dirtier than the kitchen sink, right?
Yes, they are. They're very dirty. Doorknobs. Your phone is going to be one of the dirtiest things. Anything that your hands touch, the door handles of your vehicle are going to be really dirty. So you want to disinfect those too.
Yeah, because everyone thinks about the toilet or the kitchen sink, and it's the areas that we tend to not think about. I know women's purses, I had read a study, that are just loaded with germs and bacteria on the bottom. Sometimes when you're out, you don't have a place to hang your purse. I know a lot of places started instilling hooks, and now they sell hooks that you can bring with you, but that's not always the case. Even sometimes in a public restroom, there isn't a hook available, or your gym bag or whatever, that you wiping down those surfaces and shoes. I know as biobiologists, we're in our building biology environmental consultants, and we take our shoes off before entering the home. It's a very heavily way that we bring, lead, DDT, pesticides, fecal matter from the bottom of our shoes, you name it. DDT that was banned, decades ago, still can be tracked in. They did a study at the University of Arizona and found 60% of household dust is actually tracked in from the bottom of our shoes.
Yes, the shoes are definitely dirty.
Shoes are dirty. So we can just take that little alcohol or hydrogen peroxide spray or lightly on a wipe, and then just wipe the bottom of the shoes. Especially if you're not setting up a station, we kind of have a place in our garage and we just take off our shoes and we come in, or you could set up shelves in a closet near your entryway, whatever works for you and your family. Or a lot of people even leave them in the front porch, but just getting in a habit. The Japanese and the Hawaiians have been doing this forever, and look how healthy they are.
Yes, it's true.
So, as speaking of biobiology, Ron and I are building biology environmental consultants, and that is through the Building Biology Institute, which is a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to the holistic science that you can embrace in their seminars, their online courses, their in-person courses, certification programs. They have amazing fact sheets and videos on their website that help you design, build, and remediate health supporting structures that are in harmony with planetary ecology.
And if you want to find out more on how to become a member like Lisa and I would go to buildingbiologyinstitute.org.
They are amazing. They're an amazing organization. One of the things that we get asked all the time is mold. People, they're very fearful of mold. They're not really sure how to distinguish mold from mildew. And one of the areas that I don't think anyone is immune to, the mildew around the tub and the shower.
Yes.
So what's a great recipe, something that's non-toxic that we could make to get rid of that mildew/mold that we might find in those high moisture areas of our home?
So one of the best things you can do is make a spray with tea tree oil and water. And tea tree oil is just a really great antimicrobial. It's going to kill any type of mold or mildew on contact. So when you mix it with water, you can use that, anywhere in your house, and it's going to just immediately get rid of any of that mold or mildew and any type of residue it leaves behind. It can make it stain like grout, or especially like around my shower where the shower door is, any type of moisture, you look and it's got little bitty pieces of mildew. So this spray is just awesome for that. And it's really easy to make. You don't have to get anything expensive. You can just use any type of tea tree oil that you find. I buy mine from Amazon. And I think it's about $9 for one of those bottles, but it lasts forever.
Yeah.
It lasts forever, and you mix it with a lot of water. So it's just a really great mold remover. And you can also use hydrogen peroxide, but it's not as strong. So I have a lot better luck using this tea tree oil mixture, and it's good for any surface in your home. It won't harm anything. So I use it in my natural stone, subway tile, pretty much all over the house.
Really? You could use it in marble, granite, countertops, all of that?
Yes, you can use it on all of that. It's good for windowsills. It won't stain anything. It won't get rid of any. You do need to use a little caution on a painted surface, but I use it on walls or anything that has a little bit of mildew. It's good for.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah. And mold is a whole nother show on if you suspect mold, you don't want to be in there doing, the rule of thumb is if it's a 10 square feet or larger area that you suspect mold, it's time to bring in a professional. You don't want to be dealing with that yourself. And obviously if you suspect mold, you want to use precautions with gloves and a mask and things like that. And it turns out you have a mask now on hand that you can just right that you didn't have before, but just being careful of that. But the general mildew, just so listeners, if you're wondering about that, the general mildew, it's normal. Bathrooms are very high moisture. You need to be using that exhaust fan and opening those windows every time you shower.
Right.
Because that moisture has to go somewhere. And if it doesn't have an escape route, it's going to create mildew, which could turn into mold. Mildew is just sort of more your surface level, easy to wipe off with Alexis's wonderful recipe. But if you ignore it and it gets out of control and it spreads, and your mold needs moisture to thrive, it needs a food source and it needs moisture. So if you're constantly getting that moisture in there and you're not keeping it clean or letting it air out, it could develop into a problem. So the tea tree oil is such a great idea. I love that. I've used it many times, and it is a very, very strong scent. Mm-hmm. I know that you have to be careful. Is this right, Alexis, with touching it, because it is really strong. And a lot of these essential oils need to be diluted because they are very potent.
Yes, it's very potent. So you mix it with about half a cup of water. So it's not going to be too strong, but it is a strong scent. Some people are sensitive to it. So I always tell people, make sure you have a window open or a fan on. That way, when you're spraying it, you're not overwhelmed by the scent, but it is diluted enough to where it's not going to make you feel sick or give you a headache, because it's pretty diluted. Okay.
So would you say 10 drops per half a cup of water?
It's about 20 drops to half a cup to 3/4 cup of water.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good mixture, and it's meant to be like a 1-time to 2-time use. You don't want it sitting in a bottle for a long period of time. You want to make sure that it's used up within a few settings.
Okay. That's good to know. And does it need to sit on the mildew/mold? Does it need to sit for a little while or just put it on and wipe it?
I let it sit for about 1 to 2 minutes. You don't have to let it sit for an extended period of time. And you can see the minute you spray it, you can see it kind of working in, especially like in grout, you can see it just kind of getting rid of all the mold. So about 1 to 2 minutes is all you need to do.
Okay. So that's a good, just to recap, that's a good antimicrobial. We're talking about mildew and mold, very different from antibacterial that we discussed earlier. Okay. Excellent.
So you mentioned a little bit about building biology. How did you get into that?
Oh, that is such a great question. I actually, over a decade ago, was working as an interior designer. And so the interesting thing was my job was just making homes beautiful for people. And that was the end of that. And then I moved into a newly remodeled house here in Southern California. And I was actually engaged to Ron. And I was living and working out of the house at the time. And literally right after I moved in, my health started spiraling downward. I mean, I had chronic fatigue. I could not get out of bed in the morning. I was always getting sick. I had lowered immunity. I had really bad congestion and sinus issues, amenorrhea, edema and bloating and all of these things, hormonal havoc. And I didn't know why all of a sudden I moved into this house and I went to about 12 different doctors, every kind of doctor you could think of, acupuncturists, endocrinologists, MDs, NDs, and no one could figure out what was wrong. They knew something was wrong, but they didn't know why or really how to treat it. And I had opened up a magazine, a natural building magazine, and I saw an ad for the Building Biology Institute and that they had these courses and how our toxins in our home are linked to these symptoms that I was having and these illnesses. And I just dove head in and learned everything I could and became a BBEC, which is a building biology environmental consultant. You know, at that time, my home had new carpeting, new flooring, new cabinetry, new vinyl windows, a new fireplace, new sealants, you name it. And so all of that off-gassing of these chemicals, I was literally breathing that in. So I was living in a toxic soup. And Ron and I basically turned the course of our entire life into helping educate people on this topic because so many people live in toxic homes and they don't know it. And they are taking medication for a symptom rather than getting to the root cause of what the problem is. And so we've dedicated our lives to helping people eliminate these toxins and actually educating them on the fact that they're there and what you can do to, live healthy and create a safe sanctuary, which we all need right now more than ever.
Yes, that's really cool.
Hey, Alexis, I understand too that you have a remedy, a pesticide in particular for ants. It's an ant spray.
Yes.
And I've tried so many things. I've tried coffee grounds, lemon juice, cayenne pepper. But I understand you have the ultimate solution.
Yes. So we have a mixture and it uses vinegar, salt, and dish soap and water. You mix it in a spray bottle and the vinegar and the salt combined, they really do a good job of killing the ants. So if you've got little ants in your kitchen, they come through everywhere. You just spray this solution and it's really good at killing them. It also deters them from coming back to that area. It also has dish soap in it, like I mentioned, and that just helps the solution kind of stick to the ants. We also have readers use it for all types of bugs. They use it for roaches or little, whatever comes into your house, you can use it on, but it's really specifically good for ants.
And that's because it's actually suffocating the exoskeleton of the ant, right? Or the particular ant.
Right. And then the vinegar is acidic. So it just all works together. It's really great to use for all types of ants. We even have readers use it outside in ant beds. They just pour the mixture on an ant bed and it also gets rid of them. Mm-hmm. Fire ants, sugar ants, whatever type of ants you have.
This is great. And I understand that ultimately, I know soap actually gets rid of the chemical trail that actually goes back to where is the nest.
Yeah.
Yes.
And ultimately, we want to stop the source of where the ants are coming from. But this sounds like this is a major deterrent for them to be in certain parts of your home where you don't want them to be, like in your cupboards or by your trash.
I mean, we've all experienced that, I'm sure, whether it's your kitchen. One time we had them infiltrating our bathroom on the third floor of our home. Our home is 3 stories high. And so the top floor shower, like these, we all know ants are aggressive little pesky, annoying, aggressive. And so they'll get anywhere they want to get. And in that case, it was summer and apparently they want the cool water. They want to get into like moisture area.
Yeah. Moisture, food. And anytime I spray that solution, it, kills the little trail and then they don't come back through that same hole. So it's really good at deterring them also.
Mm-hmm. And that's the pheromone trail that they leave to tell the other ants where to go. So I know the soap is really, really important. I know in the past we've used We've used just soapy water. We've used just vinegar. We've used coffee grounds and cayenne pepper and lemon juice and a lot of different natural remedies. But this one's really, I love the one that you just said, salt, vinegar, and a little dish soap. And is there any water in there or no?
Yes, there's water.
Okay.
There's about 2 cups with that solution. So the water just helps everything mix together and it makes it safer for your surfaces. So if you were to spray it on your countertops or your, wood floor, this just makes it safer. It's not as strong.
Okay. And it doesn't matter what kind of salt. Can it be sea salt or regular?
The best thing to use is just a fine table salt, and that makes it mix better. So if you have sea salt, you can just grind it up a little bit. But any type of salt that's fine can be used.
Does it leave a sticky residue? The salt thing is very interesting because I've not heard that before, but with that, I would imagine, right? Is there a crust or something that's left behind?
It does leave a little bit of a residue, especially with the salt. So on my blog, just under the recipe, I tell people you always want to let it sit there a little bit, make sure the ants are gone, and then just wipe it off with a wet towel or cloth. It won't leave a lasting residue as long as you wipe it off.
That's really good to know. And I know we all know about Roundup, Monsanto's Roundup as a weed killer and how incredibly toxic and dangerous that is. And I think the World Health Organization classifies it as a class 2B carcinogen. We don't want to be using that. One of the things that we have told our readers and listeners over the years is white distilled vinegar, really great for killing weeds. But I think you've taken that to another level. And I'd love to hear your input on what's a good natural weed killer that is even more effective than just white vinegar.
So this is actually a similar solution to the one we just talked about with the ants. It uses the same ingredients. It's a little bit more concentrated, and it's actually a really great weed killer. And we have a secret ingredient in ours. It's arthritis rub. It's a liquid rub for arthritis. I know that sounds kind of funny.
That's crazy.
But the active ingredient is going to be capsicum in that. And it just makes the whole solution work really quick. So the vinegar, the salt, the dish soap, and the water, it will definitely kill a weed. And with our added secret ingredient, it just makes the weed killer work a lot quicker. So if you think it might rain, or a lot of people are worried about moisture, if you spray something on a weed and a moisture, dew the next morning comes through, it might not kill the weed as quick. So with this active ingredient, it just makes it work quicker. And like you were saying, regular vinegar is good at killing weeds. It will, make the weed wilt and kill it. But this solution will actually help it get to the root. So you won't have the weed coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good at all types of weeds, especially those that you find in the cracks of your driveway or in your flower bed. It's just a really good solution, and it works really quick too.
And it won't harm the surrounding foliage, or is that a concern?
It is a little bit of a concern if you have some type of runoff. So if you spray it in the flower bed and you've got a sprinkler that comes through and it, kind of washes stuff down, you want to make sure that you don't spray it too close to a shrub or a flower that you want to keep. So,
okay. Not near your roses.
Yeah. And it's a lot of people are worried about their trees. It's not strong enough to harm a tree or anything like that, but you don't want to spray it on your grass or on a flower that you planted, because it will kill other things, because it doesn't know how to discern what type of plant you're spraying it on.
Right.
So I always tell people, at least about 1 foot to 2 feet from a shrub or a flower is the safe way to spray it. And it won't harm a tree. It's not strong enough to harm anything, with a massive root system. But it is a really good option, and it works really quick too.
Okay. So just to recap for listeners, so it's vinegar, salt, dish soap, and this, where do you get the rub? Well, that I actually found that in the first aid section of my store. I bought it personally to use on, arthritic pain. And I noticed on the back that it had capsicum as one of the active ingredients. And I just mixed it together just for the heck of it one day. And it made the solution work really quick. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it at your grocery store. And it's a liquid arthritis rub. Oh, it's a liquid. So the capsicum, are you buying the capsicum by itself, or are you buying it contained in a product?
It's in the arthritis rub.
Oh, okay. Just that. Oh, it's in the rub, you said.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why you use the rub. So it's kind of a way to get a liquid capsicum. Most of the stuff you find is a powder, which you can add that. We have a section on our blog that kind of tells you what to use if you can't find this particular rub. But with it being liquid.
Can you give us your blog name again?
Yeah, it's Chemistry Cache. disinfectproperly.com. It's a liquid, so it makes it mix better.
It's under different name brands, or are you just looking for something that has that in the ingredient?
You're just looking for something that has that. We kind of break it down because this has become such a popular recipe that people are selling out of this particular type of rub on Amazon. So we have a couple of different options if you're having trouble finding it. But like I said, I find it at my grocery store. They still have it. It's just about $1 or $2. It's very cheap. It lasts forever for this solution. So it's very affordable. And it's just an easy way to get that ingredient as a liquid. And it just makes the solution work better.
How much water goes into the weed killer? How are you diluting that?
This one does not have any rub water in it, actually.
Okay. This
is
water.
Going to be a lot more vinegar. So the solution's mainly vinegar, just for higher acidity. And then it has salt and it has dish soap. And then it has a few teaspoons of the arthritis rub.
Okay.
So this one doesn't have water like the other one because it's a lot stronger. You're using it outside on your weeds. And that's what you want to make sure you kill, the weed and the root.
Okay. Which is so important, right? That's really, annoying to do a lot weeding and then find it back, a couple weeks later.
Right. It's very hard to get the roots.
And Alexis, this is unique from what I understand. You're about to share with us too, is that I know, for example, we have a handful of air purifiers in our home. Mm-hmm. And one of our air purifiers actually uses a filtration blend of what is zeolite and carbon for air filtration.
Yes.
But I understand you have an amazing tip for a natural one ingredient odor absorber.
Yes. So the zeolite rocks, like you were talking about, you can actually buy those just in a bag and they come in big chunks. They look like rocks. And you can put those throughout your home and they will absorb odors really well. You can put them in your kitchen and your bathroom and you can leave them sitting out. And they, like I said, they just look like rocks. And you can take them outside and put them in the sunlight and it recharges them and then you can use them again. So I've had my bag for a few years and it just lasts a long time.
Wow.
And I just keep recharging it and I take them back inside. Like I said, it's really good for the kitchen, after you've cooked and there's a lot of food odors. You can set some of those out. They will absorb the odor. People use them for pet odors. They're just very easy to use and you can buy them on Amazon. They also have them in pet supply stores.
It's interesting. Yeah. That's the first time I had heard about zeolite was, like Ron said, the air purifier that we use and love, one of our top brands that we suggest. And that carbon zeolite blend was really good at removing formaldehyde, which obviously is a carcinogen that's very prevalent in our homes today. And in fact, our producer of this show had done a kitchen remodel and the contractor said, "Oh, don't worry, we're not using any toxic, sealants or anything like that, formaldehyde-free kitchen cabinetry," because our cabinets, the MDF is a very prevalent source of formaldehyde exposure with the adhesives that are used. And they couldn't even breathe or sleep. It was so potent, the smell. That's why that new home smell, when we get sort of like Ron talked about, watery eyes and scratchy throat and sinus issues and headaches, that's all these chemicals, these VOCs like formaldehyde, they're off gassing into the air that we're breathing. And, we think this new home smell is so wonderful. And in fact, it's actually chemicals. It's actually a chemical smell. So the zeolite is really good for absorbing not just odors, but even these chemicals, which I think is so fantastic. I didn't know you could recharge them. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, yes. I didn't either. That was impressive because I typically have to change the filtration system every 1 to 2 years, right? With the amount they're giving you. So it'd be interesting to know if that's something that can be recycled or
Alexis is
off topic here.
Alexis is going to put out all the cleaning companies out of business and all the air purifiers. And we're just going to go shopping to the drugstore down the first aid aisle and get everything.
It's really good being able to recharge them. Now, there's different types that you can buy. Some of them are really small because people use them in like fish tanks or with their pets. So I buy the real big ones, and those are the ones that you can definitely recharge because they're so large. So you definitely want to make sure.
How big are the large ones?
I think the ones I have are probably about 1 inch in diameter. They kind of vary in size, but the bigger, the better. So you don't want the ones that are real, little like pebbles. And the big ones you could recharge outside.
Wow, that's really interesting. And obviously you would know when it was time to recharge if you start smelling the odors, right? You just have to kind of let your nose guide you with that.
You just kind of have to figure it out. So I had some sitting out and I could tell, after I cooked, it just really wasn't helping with the odors. So I recharged them outside. You can also recharge them in the oven. like by heating them up. But usually the type that you buy, it'll have directions on the back how to recharge it.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent.
What area does it cover? So if you had a small bowl of these rocks, would that be like a 6-foot square area? What would be typical?
It's definitely a small area. So if you have like a really big open kitchen area, you would probably want to have multiple bowls sitting out of the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
If you have like a small area, like a 3-foot wide closet or something small, one small bowl would work really well for that. So you definitely want to have more if you have an open space, because it does need, I would say probably about 3 to 4 foot wide type of space is what it would cover. So they're really good for bathrooms and closets.
I was going to say bathrooms, laundry rooms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is where you're going to get mildew, wet, damp towels from the gym, those smells that you just want to get rid of.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Laundry baskets, that kind of thing. That's really great. Can you give us a recipe that listeners can make right now, when they can't hand wash, take in the car or wherever they're going on the road, something that they could make simply and affordably?
So the best thing to do, like we were talking about before, is you want to get 70% rubbing alcohol, and you want to just use that pure in a spray bottle. So I just pour some in one of those little tiny spray bottles. You want it to be 70% for the best disinfecting properties. So I just put it in the spray bottle. That's what I carry around. It is a little bit harsh on your skin using it all the time, especially because we're constantly, doing that now. So you can add a little bit of aloe vera to it to kind of soften it. But again, you really want to be using that straight 70% rubbing alcohol.
Okay.
And I've seen a lot of companies are making it now. And I've looked at the ingredient list, and it's basically they're just using 70% rubbing alcohol. So it's cheaper just to buy that and put it in a spray bottle.
Aloe vera, is it also moisturizing, or is it really more just to give it the gel consistency?
It's moisturizing, and it does add a little bit of, the gel-like texture. I use a natural one, so it's not real thick. It's kind of more of a liquid, so it doesn't necessarily make it like the store-bought, but it can be a little bit softer on your hands.
And then how about I have a little bit of vitamin E oil as a natural preservative? Would you suggest that in there too?
You can definitely add a little bit of that. Just even a few drops can help it not only just preserve it, but can also make it a little bit softer on your hands.
Because alcohol is so drying. People don't realize that, especially people that are really, really overusing the hand sanitizers. It's so drying right on the skin, and it can break when your skin starts cracking. You're kind of defeating the purpose, because now you're allowing bacteria to get into your skin.
It's also very painful. I've had that situation happen just testing all the cleaners that I make. So I definitely know what that's like, but you do want to make sure you're using it only if that's all you have on hand. So like we were talking about before, you really want to be washing your hands, because it's going to clean your hands and disinfect it by getting rid of all the debris that's on your hands.
Washing your hands, and 20 seconds, sing happy birthday twice for the ABCs, right? And then really get in there and learn how to properly wash. You get in between the fingers like this, you get your
and under the fingernails.
You can do this. There's...
So next show, we need a moisturizer.
We need a moisturizer. But a lot of people, it's not just this. This isn't hand washing. Nowadays, you got to really get under those fingernails. You also want
to go up pretty high, because if you're wearing short sleeves, I almost go up to my elbow if I've been, especially in a doctor's office or, someplace like that. You just really want to take it up high. So
that's a great tip, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you're worried about someone sneezing on you, get the arm higher.
Just the whole arm.
And just get in there and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to wash your hands.
It's really important also to take a shower when you've been out. A lot of people don't think about their hair.
Yeah.
You're out in public, people might be breathing on you. It's not as huge of a concern, but it's definitely something you want to keep in mind, that it's not just your hands that are getting the germs. It's other parts of your body. So you want to make sure that you shower often. It's not just your hands that get dirty.
Trick question. So you're at the gas station, you're filling up your car with gas. You realize the car handle is probably infected with tons of germs. What do you do?
Viruses, bacteria.
And you've already touched it.
Well, you just left your car. Now you're touching the handle of the gas pump.
So
you're going back to your car. What do you do? What's your process?
Well, I keep little Kleenexes or little napkins with me, and I don't touch anything with my bare hands. I always try to use a little cloth or a little napkin, something that I have to keep my hand as far away from what everybody else has touched. If I did already touch the handle, that's when I'm going to take that rubbing alcohol out. I'm going to spray my hands. I'm probably going to spray a little bit of the surface of that. I'm going to make sure that anything I've touched inside my car is going to be disinfected, spraying everything down, letting it sit for a long time. But I always try to make sure that I use something besides my hand to grab the nozzle.
You're so pro. You are pro.
The thing is, I've been doing this for a couple of years. So way before COVID-19. So I guess I was a little bit ahead of the curve, but I don't know. I guess it's good to know now.
You've met your match, because Ron is not revealing. He's been like, I don't want to say germ phobe, but and he actually taught me, because as we were traveling a lot, I would reach up to turn the vent, the air, to get some airflow. Ron would be like, don't touch that with your fingers.
Yes.
And now since then I've written articles on how absolutely disgusting and germy airplanes are. Now with COVID-19, actually, they're going to be really cracking down. It's kind of a good thing. They're finally going to be washing those disgusting tray tables. And
those are awful.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever been on a plane where I pulled the tray table down and it was clean. And so, and even the armrests and the controls, the kiosks, the screens where you're pushing your finger, making sure to use a knuckle. This would go for whether it's a kiosk or a screen, or even at the gym, like the gym equipment, using a knuckle. I know they're going to be more stringent at wiping things down too, but you just don't know if the sweaty guy, did the cleaner come in? Lisa. What? Sweaty guy like Ron was just on it. And
the funny thing is I was at a hospital just a few months before COVID happened, and a lady commented, because I was touching everything with my elbow. I opened up the elevator with my elbow. I didn't use my hands for anything. And she said, what are you doing? Is there a reason for that? And I said, germs. And she just kind of looked at me funny. But, now that all this stuff is going on in the world, people are kind of understanding that.
Fist bump for handshaking, right? We got a fist bump. And we don't want to be paranoid, but it's just common sense. And it's good, Alexis, that you are like, oh, well, that's what I do, because, you're not sick. And we just have to kind of get rid of those social, perceptions of, oh, who cares what people think? You've got to do what feels right to you. And if you notice something like that and you want to protect yourself, because this is about, and of course, building up your immunity, which is what we really, really tout, is at the end of the day, your strong immune system is everything. If you have a strong immune system, and, we didn't really discuss a lot of the toxic chemicals that are in the traditional name brand cleaners, but that's what this show is all about today, is how can you avoid that stuff that's actually taxing your immune system and making you more susceptible to germs. When you use these recipes that we went over today, and you use these natural products that are completely non-toxic, you're going to be less susceptible to catching a virus and catching a germ, or having like major health repercussions from that. So always, always, always go for the least toxic thing. And in this case, DIY saves you money. It saves your health. And I guess once you get in a habit, Alexis, right? Once you get in a habit and you've got all these bottles, it just probably becomes second nature. Like it sounds a little overwhelming for people at the beginning, but I think once they have their little arsenal of healthy products, it's just about refilling them.
Right. And it's also just handy. Sometimes you go to clean something and you don't have the product on hand. You think, oh, I'm out of this. You can just whip together something that you have on hand, and it's convenient to know how to make, alternative recipes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So leave us with 5 or 6 things that we should have in our home based on what we talked about. We're going shopping tomorrow. Let's pick up, or we're going to order on Amazon. Let's pick up the things we need.
So you definitely want rubbing alcohol, 70%.
Okay.
Hydrogen peroxide. It comes in 3%. You definitely want that. Vinegar, just the regular cooking vinegar. It's usually 5% acidity. That's always good to have on hand.
Can you use apple cider vinegar as a substitute if that's all you have?
If that's all you have, you can. I don't like it as much because of the coloring. It can stain surfaces. So distilled white is going to be the best option. But obviously, if you don't have that on hand, whatever you have is fine.
Okay.
But you want to buy the white distilled vinegar. A good dish soap, just a concentrated dish soap. They have so many different types at the store.
And we recommend a natural dish soap with no unnecessary colorings and things like that. So just go for something basic.
Right. There's many options at the store. Just, you want to make sure you always have dish soap on hand. Mm-hmm. And a concentrated solution is best for that.
Dr. Bronner's is a great soap.
Dr. Bronner's.
Dr. Bronner's. Yeah.
Also, for a lot of the recipes, we talked about salt. Salt is good to have on hand. In fact, we have a blog post about how to clean with salt. You can actually use it for a lot of unique things. So that's something good to have on hand. So how many is that? That was
Did we say tea tree oil?
Tea tree oil. That's
tea tree
right.
Oil, yeah.
And that one, I buy it on Amazon. They have it at stores, grocery stores, any type that you can find works really good for that recipe. And
I think you got it.
That was fine.
Is that five?
That's
Okay.
going to get extra credit.
You're adding, Ron?
Like?
Extra credit would be the zeolite rocks. Those are
there you go.
Those are extra things.
I love that.
Alex, how did you get into this toxic free product mission? How did this all start for you?
I would say it just something that I started looking into. Like I said, I have arthritis. I was trying to just come up with ways to minimize the chemicals that were in the home. And it just made me more aware of what was going on behind the scenes. And I started digging into ingredients, and especially also my mom has asthma. So breathing issues are a thing. I wanted to create things that weren't going to be as strong just in scent or, in the air.
Right. And so there's so many caustics and respiratory irritants in these cleaning products that, not only people are using, but professional cleaners. So they have very high incidence of certain cancers because of these products and respiratory issues. And so you're just doing a good job for not just yourself and your family, but literally the world when you switch to healthier products. And also as these things get into our waterways, when they're being disposed of, they affect the waterways and the aquatic life and all of that.
Right.
So we have a responsibility, not just in our own homes, but for our planet, of course. And I know we didn't really talk a whole lot about essential oils besides, I think, tea tree, but I know you have a recipe for hand sanitizer for the holidays where you use like peppermint and some really wonderful scents.
Yes.
And giving those as gifts to people, making your own hand sanitizer, and then putting in some beautiful scents and packaging those up as, I think that just makes such an amazing gift for others.
Yes. And essential oils, there's not a lot of research on them. So you have to be careful what you're using. Like I said, the tea tree oil we talked about is one of those that's just very researched. It's very proven, which is why I like to use it. Peppermint oil is another one of those that's very researched. It's also really good for those things. And I use them, mainly for scents too. You can add a scent to any type of homemade cleaner with an essential oil, and it's safe, it's easy, it adds a good scent. Mm-hmm. You just still have to be careful about, the cleaning and disinfecting with the essential oils because there's just not enough research out there. So that's a lot of reasons why you're not seeing a lot about it with all the coronavirus stuff. People aren't talking about it because there's just not enough research. Hopefully there will be, in the coming years with that. But right now you just have to be careful.
Yeah. And I know there's a brand, Cleanwell. I don't know if you know that brand, but they use thyme.
Yes.
They have an interesting ingredient, and it's actually on the EPA's approved list of disinfectants cleaners for COVID.
That's another one that's good.
Thyme oil. So it's amazing. A lot of the things we've been eating and cooking with, we can clean with.
Right.
We are kindred spirits. Our listeners know that. But as we leave here, I want to leave them with some fun facts about you.
Okay.
You get a lot of inspiration from old movies. You're actually a fan of looking up facts related to cleaning and skincare from that time period as well, which is so telling, right? Because what our grandparents were doing was effective at cleaning the home. Thank you for bringing this to our attention and to our life, Alexis.
Yes,
absolutely. It's been a real pleasure connecting with you.
We always say like grandma knew best with her cleaning recipes. Our grandmas used all the natural stuff because that's all they had. I love that you go into these 1940s and 50s movies and like to research what they used for not just cleaning, but skincare. I know that's something you discuss on your website as well, natural skincare. So thank you again. Thank you so much for your knowledge and for your inspiration and passion about what you do and for making the world a better place. Thanks for being with us.
Awesome. Thank you.
And listeners, we hope you enjoyed this show. Please tune in next week for another episode, and we're going to teach you how to turn your home into a safe sanctuary.
This episode of the Healthy Home Hacks podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more healthy living strategies and tactics to help you create the healthy home you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content. See you on the next episode.